subscription received. Hype engine spinning up.
Hello, everyone. I was able to jump into game 3, so let's just get into it. Well, that's clearly there. There we go. So it is tied up 1-1. We're on some new maps. So I guess these are the ones that are that won TLMC or were part of it or something along those lines. I don't know, but they're new maps, and we're on a new map, so that's interesting. We got Tokamak, which I definitely read as Tomahawk initially and was, I don't know, excited that it was going to be a familiar word. It's not a familiar word. I have no idea what this is. Map makers, once again, trying their best to educate the StarCraft public, but I won't have it. I'm not going to learn a damn thing about this map name. In the bottom left is Clem. He's playing Terran, and the top right it is the Hero playing Protoss. Everything's normal, except of course that Clem did beat Max Pax early. Well, I guess it's kind of normal actually. He's been doing that. But anyway, it wasn't Clem who beat Max Pax. It was Hero who beat Max Pax, and Clem D beat Cure, of course, when he played Protoss. So I guess that's the slight abnormality. Although I haven't been casting the last 2 weeks, so I don't know if Cure has been participating and getting farther and farther. Cure versus Max Pax happening in the lower bracket. Just the best of one on a Roddy's stream if you want to check out that TVP. But again, whoever loses this will go down to face the winner of that. And then we'll have another match for the actual grand final. It's some sort of nuclear reactor. Why didn't they name it Tomahawk? I mean, it feels like, you know, it's not exactly representative of the map name. Or the map design, I guess. Maybe it's like a little green. It's the only thing nuclear reactor. And I mean, it just, you know, why not something familiar? Anyway. Clem has been, I think, improving his TVP as far as I could check out the last couple of weeks. But I don't really want to say that with any type of authority. It does seem like TVP has been particularly
Resubscription received.
more frustrating
Apparently you are doing something right,
for the
Captain.
Terrans. Not to the point that Clem wants to play PvP, of course, which, I mean, I think eventually he might be better at. And I mean, I think eventually, really, if Clem wanted to, he could just main Protoss, you know, if he really wanted to. But and he'd also get really good at PvZ, I suppose, and isn't really beating his TvZ, is there? Maybe he could reverse it, be like PvP, PvT, and then only play in Terran for Zerg. Anyway, but I think that would take a very long time, and it'd be very difficult to get over how far ahead these other Protoss are in the mirror matchup. And I think that it also would get really repetitive, as far as I understand it, for the other Protoss mains. But anyway, right now, well, it's not repetitive, perhaps, although probably is. The point is, there's a lot of Protoss on European ladder. It's what he chooses to do. regardless of how frustrating TVP seems to be. And what really seems to be frustrating about this matchup, and I don't know what happened in the first 2 games here to make it tied, but clearly they both got a piece of each other. But in TVP, it does seem like everything can be hunky-dory as expected. There's the chance that a couple of early moves out catch up the Protoss by surprise. There's a chance that Clem does get his little micro going and that he takes a big divot out of the Protoss and wins the game, either straight up right there or he just does enough damage. If the Protoss avoids all of those issues and gets to a solid 3-base economy with Colossus, Blink Stalker Colossus charge, right, and then low gas Colossus charge, that's where the Terran and Clem seems to really have a lot of problems. Controlling that 3rd space after your couple of attacks have missed any opportunity to do significant damage seems to be really what's the rub here. So right now, we do have Clem going for the early aggression. Again, sometimes this kid can just like win with this, right? Not against what Hero's doing right now, mind you. It is a 3-gate, kind of designed actually to deal well with any type of early aggression. You have that extra stalker warp in if you so choose to actually warp in, which obviously Hero has. So you're definitely not going to win the game here, but there's always that chance that Clem gets in at the right moment, with the right state of units, with the right distraction, and then finds a lot more damage than just 2 probes. But in this case, 2 probes and a stalker actually is decent for the medevac to be able to escape, but does it escape? Does it really? No, it doesn't. Nice by Hero to actually project the trajectory and go after the medevac. There really wasn't a lot to stop him from trying. The Terran will not have a move out immediately after that, especially if you have deflected it so easily. So there was definitely every reason to try and go after that medevac, and finding it was a great success. So we're going to have the next phase of Terran, right, where the Terran, as I was saying, gets their attacks going. Maybe they get a little double-pronged, right, 2 medevacs there, 2 medevacs there, try and do something with that. But if that doesn't work again, Hero gets up to solid 3-base, charge Colossus, moving on to a 4th probably, right? Then there's an attack that happens that the Terran just struggles to deflect the pressure away from the 3rd, while dealing with Zealot run-bys and Warp Prism drops and just the Colossus range, making them stim, making them get damage, and then that really seems to be where we're getting to the crux of the issue. Now, all little things that add up to that point, of course, and whatever you want to say about the balance, go ahead and say it, but when it gets to that head, that's what really makes it difficult. And I'm going to say that that's so much so that we don't even really get a lot of taste of, like, actual late-game TVP. It seems pretty determined around that 3rd base of the Terran, whether they defend it flawlessly or not, whether they manage to find some type of surround or brilliant concave, or maybe they get interference matrix, which I actually haven't seen, but I'm just throwing it out there because we have a Raven. That kind of changes the dynamic. And that's where we're headed right now for both players. I mean, Clem protecting himself against the stalker aggression, the little harassment that's going on here. Is doing fine on that, fine on the observers, who took away that privilege for Hero. But Hero, looking for little jabs, is not ever going to punch without the couple of Colossus, without having everything set up back at home, which is what he's doing. And he still has to worry about the time, which Clem does have a little bit of that power spike. Does have the couple of medevacs to the left, a couple of medevacs to the right. Might find him a little unguarded somewhere. And it looks like Hero actually was hoping to perhaps get ahead of that. He seemed like he was actually planning on pushing while taking the 4th base, and then perhaps... Oh, okay. I mean, good on Clem to go after the Warp Prism, I think. But having both of his medevacs found and demolished, even though he also got a couple of stalkers right there, probably not what he had in mind. Now, no backs-up opportunity. Hallucinating Phoenix did just see that the army was still back at home, which I think is what gave him a little bit of that courage to go for the move-out with his units. Maybe he was just repositioning, or maybe he only meant to send the stalkers, but... I mean, the point is, Clem is going to be continually scouted. That's kind of the main complaint right now, I would say, overall, generally. My Twitch alerts don't seem to be working right now. As far as that, like, that build-up to the kind of final moment that I'm talking about, where this army does go and just harass the hell out of this one. The tanks help right now, but eventually Clem will lose that in some type of attack, and then the question is he building up Vikings that should deal with the Colossus, blah, blah, blah. But the hallucinated Phoenix, just being able to be built and immediately sent out and immediately rebuilt because of the recharge on just a single sentry. And to be frank, I mean, these sentries don't have much else to do, so right now they're not even being recharged immediately, right? If they need Force Fields or Guardian Shield in the future, then they'll be recharged. But you just get scout after scout. And the Terran doesn't really get that opportunity that they used to have more of the unknown come after the Protoss. Did I move the secondary army away from my base? Can you get a Zealot run by as I'm in that perfectly awkward position of being in the middle of the map and not really attacking you, but not really able to defend quickly either? And, I guess you could also say that they could be used to scout for the medevacs, but it's more just like that scouts the main army, and then these pylons, an observer, but a couple of zealots, whatever else it is, scouts any type of map pressure that the Terran would try to put on, and Hero's just done all of this rather well as getting up to the 2-1 upgrade, so that's going to continue an upgrade lead that Hero has had. Disruptors have been made for a while now, actually. We only went to 2 Colossus, not 3, and that might have surprised Clem to a certain degree. But it does look like a strong enough army from Clem to deflect everything. Actually, the Viking number might have been a little high for what ended up only being 2 Colossus. The plus side is it does kill those 2 Colossus very well, very quickly. No longer have to worry about that and landing the Vikings even. This is usually when the Vikings die, and then you go back into Colossus. But right now, our splash is 5 Disruptors. It's not so much about the splash and whether or not it hits. I mean, if it hits, great. But it is about the replenishing of the army that Protoss can do now. They're up to 4 bases, going on to 5, actually. So, technically, when the Terran does get this really nice concave with a couple of EMPs, the Disruptors don't get their shots, or they only get one, which doesn't, one-shot the Marauders anymore. They have a powerful army. I mean, they still have a chance to really screw up the Protoss, but I would frame it personally as more like the Protoss has a chance to screw things up. That is, to take such a bad fight because they run into too good of a concave, or because... I mean, that's really kind of it, I guess. Because they overextend when they realize that it's starting to phase out, right? They don't pull back, that they can't replenish. The Terran's counterattack is too immediate. And that's the question we're going to have here. The Disruptors are not finding particularly good shots as the concave is being used to the fullest extent around this 3rd CC. The Vikings kind of adding, honestly, to that concave. 4th base coming down for Clem right in the eyes of a pylon. It might actually turn into a planetary while this all goes on. So Hero perhaps missing an opportunity to get a kill on that one, or at least a distraction, is entirely focused on the engagement. Which, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but this is usually where the second problem rears its ugly head, which is just like 20 Zealots bearing down on the natural or the 4th. But currently they're bearing down on the Terran army. And that might be good enough, but it comes into a little bit of a surround here. Clem, trying to spread out his army as much as possible. He's trying to find that perfect engagement. A really odd recall. I guess that was trying to... Okay, that was just odd, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because Hero, that was one slice of the pie. He still had a whole pie to go back on. He was still going up to 5, even 6 bases, and he was going to replenish all those Zealots with 2,000 minerals. And Clem was not going to push that army back enough to have a breather. So Clem does tap out. Even though he was going to collect an additional, 4 Disruptors, and the army, the Stalkers might not have been able to fully retreat, the army would have been replenished, and Clem would not have found the game-changing damage he needed on the counterattack. So, I'm kind of afraid to say it, but TVP is really stale right now. I mean, regardless of whether you think it's balanced or not, doesn't really matter. It's just that it's the same crux of the issue. Usually, as a commentator, one of the things you want to do, if you can, is read the builds and how they size up against each other, and then talk about kind of that major point of contention right? So you're building up and you're saying, okay, well, because he missed this, then this power attack, this power spike might not be as good, and we got to see what the other guy's prepared for it. And then if that goes well, then there's this other thing that could happen. And instead of that, it honestly seems like a lot of TVP I could cast pretty blind. Clem's going to try and go for some type of 2-base pressure, as he usually does. The Protoss is pretty, big suspect of it and is going to do defense against it. And then the Protoss is going to get to 4 bases. Clem might try and take the map control. Maybe something happens around the 4th base that the Protoss kind of messes up on. But if that doesn't happen, then Clem's going to stay at home and slowly die to the overwhelming Protoss army. I think that's all TVP right now. I mean, it's maybe not that bad, because maybe Cure versus Clem might be coming up next. Hold on, I gotta make sure I'm on the right server. Oh no, Clem versus Max Packs, okay. It could just be these guys, I suppose, but I don't know. I think other TVPs are going to have the same problem. Excuse me. I'm going to be a little nasally and coughing every now and again because did get sick in Japan, and I was really hoping I'd be over it by now, but I'm not. Thank you, Mike Sixers, for starting off the stream with the tier 3 resub, by the way. Once I dismiss these messages, go away. For the 52 months as well, appreciate that. Fear Dragon with 123 months. The map is aimed at the Hindu god of infertility. They are the contrast god of fertility and are often a logo picture in India for a lot of safe sex packets. I gotta check if you're trolling me, because that's what you would do. I don't believe you based off of a initial Google search. I was like, you don't hear much about gods of infertility. The god of fertility, I've, definitely heard of, but not seeing anyone particularly about the infertility. Although, I would say that it would make sense to name a nuclear reactor after the god of infertility. I feel like there is something there for that one. But, anyway. Someone else, confirm or deny that one. Eisten83, thank you for the 74 months. Is there in the cat camp some new cabinet? No, it's not new. It might not have actually been ever pointed at, but yeah, it's been around for a while. Speaking of the cat cam. As we wait for this TVP to start. There's Apollo. He's been very needy, very cute. Okay. So top right of Ultra Love, which is a familiar map, we got Clem, and the bottom left it is Max Pax. Max Pax lost a hero today earlier on, but I do believe Clem was able to take him out in some previous Open Cups. It's not Clem totally lost against Protoss, but I will say that in my opinion of the weeklies I've been casting, it does seem like I would say it's more Protoss's mistakes than it is the Terrans doing good things that lead to the Terran taking games. And again, going back to that typical structure of the game of this matchup, it's around that 3rd to 4th base timing, really, that seems to screw up the Protoss, potentially. There's always the game where Clem does get some micro tricks and he like wins with a single medevac drop. But generally, it's whether that 4th base comes down flawlessly. It's whether or not the double drop happens and Clem actually manages to find the Protoss out of position when he's kind of more power spiking as the Protoss continues to complete their Colossus count. And their vision on the map and their base is actually saturated, right, and healthy enough to defend. That seems to be what the difference is between a Clem victory and a Clem loss, that's the word, which is, does he actually do damage around that 3 base time for him, around the 3 to 4 base time for the Protoss? There's other things that happen, but the more that I witness this dynamic in this matchup, the more that I would believe that, one, Clem doesn't get a lot done with anything on 2 base. Wouldn't mind drop, turret harassment, I don't know what else. And the more that it doesn't seem really all that worth it for, like, Max Pack specifically, right, to go for a lot of aggression. Now, I'm not going to say Max Pack shouldn't go for a War Prism with his 3 gates, because I still think that's one of the scariest things you can do as a Protoss, and that's what Hero did last game too, right? He went 3 gate, which can be a defensive tool, but you get that War Prism, you can commit a lot to it offensively, or you can just go for some harassment, which is more so what Hero does. But my point is, yeah, probably go into the latter, which is to go for a little more harassment with your opening as the Protoss, rather than some kind of dedicated build or attack. You know, certainly don't bother going for a 4 gate anymore. And at this point in time, Max Pack doesn't really do that anyway. Maybe if a map is particularly good for it and he thinks that there just might be some reason why Clem in particular would not be totally prepared for a 4 gate, then throw it out there, I suppose. But at this point, it doesn't seem worth it. The Hellion did just get in and kill 3 probes. That is pretty worth it. That's a better trade there for the Hellion, right? Good stuff. But it's not enough. Combo that with a Wouldn't Mind drop, also killing, let's say, 6 probes, and I'm a believer. I'm starting to believe. But, it shouldn't. Yeah, it should kill 2 at most, and that's exactly what happens. In the meantime, we got 2 SCVs taken down by the Weakened Adepts. Decided to go into the natural for the greater good. And got those 2 SCVs to even out the Wouldn't Mind drop at the very least. Wouldn't Mind drop is going to stay alive, and that is going to be a thorn in Max Pax's side. But it looks like Max Pax, for once, doesn't grab the War Prism. I'm still all for it. I really am. I think it's still the scariest thing you can really wave your hands around a Terran's face with, even if you don't ever use it, is a War Prism. I know at some certain point they could punch you, and it would be very, very painful. But this is a game where Max Pack does not bother. And so he does get that 3rd base up pretty quickly. In fact, this was a 2 gate. So yeah, this is Max Pack's still probably 70% 3 gate, I want to say. I'm going to throw out a number. I think it's that high. But occasionally we are seeing the 2 gate, and occasionally we do still see that just thrown in 4 gate. But not for the best of 1. Not against Clem, I would say. But a 2 gate, maximizing the economy, especially as Clem does play defensive. He has been changing it up. I mean, the last best of 3 that I cast, I think with him, or was it best of 5? Whatever it was. Between him and Hero, there was a lot of change up in his stylings. Oh, it was like a best of 3, best of 3, best of 3. That's right. I played so much that tournament. There was like the typical game, which Clem lost. Then there was the change up, which Clem won, and then he continued trying to change things up with like a 2 base build or a 2 base all in, but Hero had gotten wise to it, and so it stopped working. But yeah, if you can get that scout, on Clem doing a very normal macro build, and he is going 3rd CC right now. Stalker's trying to catch 2 medevacs. Looks like Clem was kind of aware that was a real possibility, and so actually got the jump a little bit more on Max Packs. No Stalkers actually died. And only 4 were available to begin with. Observer really, really wants to be taken out by Clem. He's going to find it, and he's going to continue with this attack, perhaps. Wouldn't have been a bad idea just to rush forward, honestly. Picking up the medevacs, even a little bit riskier. Although he will expedite the move over to the 4th, perhaps hoping to find a Nexus just building. That would have been the best thing, I think, to have happen. is to find the Nexus, 10% completed, so you get a quick and easy cancel, or even a snipe. That would have been nice, but it only finds a pylon. Oh, well. But anyway, the economy here of max packs is well, it's already there, actually. We're already on that saturated 3 base, 4 gas, I can count. 4 gas, not completing the gases, right? But getting enough for the Colossus, the upgrades, and maybe some more Stalkers, just because we are at a... Oh, no, 12. Okay, never mind, yeah. So 12 is a pretty good number, right? Then all into Zealots. All into Zealots. This is a big main attack from Clem, and that's still the power of the Terran if you're not being constantly scouted. We actually had 1 sentry built in this game from Max Spec, and it was a little later on, I think, as well. You can either go for the double drop, or you could go for the main push, and hopefully the Protoss doesn't know which one. And in this case, Max Pax was not aware that the entire army had actually moved out, tanks included. They did not stay at home. That does mean the Zealots try and go for a little run-by attempt, but the timing isn't there. Reinforcements are good for Clem. Clem already doing a better job against Max Pax this game than Hero, right? He has already surprised Max Pax and stopped that flawless transition over into a 4th base. A little awkward here for the Protoss, is forced to blink forward to take out the tanks, but 1 Colossus lives. Zealots on the right side come in to surround the Bio Army, and the Medivacs are the only thing to escape, and only 2 of them at that. Woodamine drop seemed to be F2. That was a micro mistake right there, as that also goes down. Not that I don't know, had a lot of potential, but it just wasn't supposed to be floating over the main army like that. So Max Pax does deal with the attack. It did surprise him. It did, again, delay that 4th base. It was a messier engagement than I think Max Pax was hoping for, meaning that Clem does have all those reinforcements, that with the Zealots, plus all the reinforcements that were given time to pop out because of the messy engagement. So Clem still holds on to an army supply lead. That's great. But Max Pax did kind of sneak in the 4th base in a more vulnerable location, but it's only vulnerable if Clem is able to get across the map. And Clem still has to kind of worry about the counterattack to a degree. Not because necessarily Max Pax's army is that powerful, especially after losing one of those Colossus, but rather because it's now time for the Protoss to have a little bit more of that map control, to know where the bulk of the Terran army is, and then be able to react either with their own main army or with a run-by, to prepare their defenses, to recharge whatever they need to recharge, to prep the Warp Prism to go in, buying some time for the Dark Shrine potentially as well. I mean, this is... It'd be lovely if Clem could continue with the aggression, with the 10 army supply lead, equal upgrades as well right now, but forced to kind of calm down and let the pacing slow down a little bit. 4th base is on the way, missile turrets are on the way. It appears that Clem has it in his brain, the timing of the Dark Shrine, and with Max Pax presumably on 4 bases, because I don't think Clem confirmed it. Oh, wait, no, he did. Something went over there, and I think I literally saw it, but something went over there. Even if he didn't see it, I think he would figure it out, which is why he went over to scout it anyway. You're going to have enough material to work with a couple of Dark Templars added in. Some Protosses definitely don't get the Dark Shrine that fast. Hero didn't last game, but this does seem to be Max Pax's common timing for Dark Shrine. Clem knows it. Clem has defense against it, although not in his 3rd. Okay, there we go. He realizes it as well. He's got some Marines and a Missile in the main base as well, but the Warp Prism actually goes into the natural. Man, the one place that he wasn't defended, at least against the Warp Prism, but the Missile Turret did still cover his mineral line. Quick ghost snipe, and then the main base also scanned. Very quick reaction right now for Clem on the defense of the harassment, but now having to defend against the main army. 3 Colossus available, Disruptor as well. 10 SCVs still going down, despite what looks like, oh my god, a perfect defense. The Marines obviously did not end up chasing down the Warp Prism. The Vikings kind of microed while Clem was distracted, did not catch the Warp Prism or stop that Zealot Warp in. That means 16 SCVs killed, plus 3 barracks delayed, plus the 4th CC was also harassed. Max Pax does lose, I think, 4 probes to perhaps the Raven, if I had to guess. It does die. But that is not equivalent, and Max Pax is kind of firmly in control at this point. Even though Clem does have the 4th base turning into a planetary, Max Pax has that maxed out army with 2-1, so an upgrade lead currently, although that's about to disappear. Clem could have a really good engagement with 2-2. Max Pax got to be very careful right now. He is not going to let himself get concave, even if the upgrades were in his favor. Runs back to the choke and is going to be able to use that very effectively. Clem can't really force the issue that much The Viking number is pretty high at 9. That's almost perfect, really, for 3 Colossus, and one already got significantly injured. MaxPack's going to respect that push, lose that map control, but he does get up to 5 bases. So it wasn't just the 4th, which got away, no problem. 5th base also up and running, could even be saturated very soon with more probes being built. We're at 80 plus probes. MaxPack's getting to his 6th base too, and Clem hasn't really crossed the midway point in a while. He's going to have to do that. He's going to start doing some economic damage to MaxPack's. I mean, we're really almost looking at it now like a TVZ. Once it gets to this stage, if nothing else really funky and game decisive happened, it's almost like a TVZ where it's about stopping the Zerg player from being able to just remax, you know? It's not that the Terran army isn't good. It actually can be very much better than the army we're seeing right now from MaxPack. The Disruptors aren't hitting. The Colossus can't kill enough of the army, especially as he just dodges away, right? And the Vikings kill the Colossus in turn. Stalkers aren't really a DPS unit. And you can see how Clem does win the fight. But MaxPax has 3,000 minerals. He had 3,600 minerals. He warps an 11 Colossus. He rebuilds off of 2 Robos. He continues upgrading as well to even out those upgrades a little bit more. And he does not lose any economic position. All 5 bases still up and running. 6th base completed. I want to move the observer. And Clem is trying to work at his own 5th. He is trying to keep up. But it is, again, so much like TVZ to the point that nowadays it is said that the Protoss should be a base ahead. Even 2, which is exactly what you say about a Zerg player against a Terran. It's funny how things worked out. It's funny how life goes, I guess. Disruptors are kind of, I mean, they're not really in the best position. I mean, there are a couple of chokes that MaxPax is using to ensure that they stay alive for a little bit longer, and obviously that should turn around on the Terran. Those chokes should have been difficult to push through against the Disruptors, but yeah, the Disruptors did not scare away the Terran army with those chokes as much as one would hope. We have had time to rebuild Colossus as the Viking count was taken down a notch. But the fact that 5 were alive and more still being reinforced as the medevac count stays healthy is a really good sign for Clem. This is his best opportunity to try and do some significant damage, just split away from the Disruptors. Vikings not quite taking out the Colossus. They could free fire. This could be like a little bit better micro, actually, but I think the job's kind of being done right now. I see this apply it at equal, but I'm not exactly sure how. About 30 of it is in probes, so MaxPax, oh my god, might not want that many probes. He does need to replenish his army, but his army, when maxed out, looks so small. Upgrades never evened out as well, by the way. Clem managing to stay at least an upgrade ahead the last few minutes. Finally finds that economic damage. 4th base or 3rd base does go down. MaxPax, though, still on 5, could recover. I mean, in the same way that Clem gets a nice concave, EMPs, and the Vikings and the Colossus, all that good stuff. MaxPax could get us around with Zealots. That is still very frightening as Clem tries to win this game. But the really good news about this is that his upgrades are still intact, still ahead of the opponents, and that the medevac count never got destroyed. So we haven't had that natural overstimming process of trying to end the game as the Protoss replenishes the army. Now we're getting to that point. Suddenly, like 20 Zealots appear, and you're like, oh shit, okay, maybe the Protoss isn't dead. And you just aren't going to pierce through that many Zealots, even with the upgrade lead, that quickly. So you kind of got to respect that. But they don't chase down red and orange Terran army while they run away trying desperately to survive. The Stalkers don't blink on top of the retreating Vikings and medevacs, which would often be the case if that medevac count had been culled earlier on. If they were down to 5 medevacs during all of that, I can almost guarantee that this would have shifted significantly in MaxPax's favor, despite the Nexus lost. If there's only 5 medevacs for the last 2 engagements. Easy call on that one. Clem would have had to disengage much earlier, and if he didn't, he would have lost so much more and then had a really tough time holding the line back at home. But we have maxed out armies for both sides. Again, Clem's army just always going to be stronger. Even while the upgrades continue on here for MaxPax, he just has so much more army. This is a significantly... I mean, well, maybe it's not actually that bad. I kind of started off maybe a little poor from MaxPax. The Disruptors did not get very many good shots, but then the Terran army was so spread out The Zealots got more effective. Plus 3 armor finally finished for those Zealots as well, so even harder to take down. Forced to fall back to the planetary. All of a sudden, Clem's supply in the gutter, but he does have an ace up his sleeve. A little push on that 6th base does force a very, very needed recall. Clem needs time to breathe, but he just simply cannot remax as fast as MaxPax. MaxPax has kind of exhausted the excess bank that he had, but now he's building up another one. Whereas Clem, I don't think has ever had a bank, either because he was building maybe 1 or 2 extra command centers, just because, well, he didn't have 80 probes. The probes are helping out now. Although they looked like a problem earlier on. Clem now the one lower in supply, lower in economy, and he does not have what it takes to defeat MaxPax. He looked like he was so close to doing it. But MaxPax had built up such a secure fund. The American government did not touch MaxPax's retirement in this game. Thank God he's Danish. And while things look like they're once again getting close, and Clem still is on 5 bases, well, kind of. I mean, main event natural ground, but he does still have an economy. It's not good enough. He's hardly able to replace the Marauders, plus the Vikings, plus the Ghost. Yeah, and this is going to be it. GG. MaxPax takes the one and only game. That was a best of 1, which means that it is going to be MaxPax versus Hero, a PvP in the finals. It's also going to be on the North American server, so let's hop over. Seems like a tough time. Tough time for Terran. Yeah, Hero is doing well recently, too. Yeah, he's not making as many game-ending mistakes. Which is always a thing with Hero. Regardless of how his balance is. But it seems like Clem and the other Terrans haven't really been able to brainstorm how to reliably defeat Protoss. Again, they have some builds they can throw out. They can mix like a typical macro defensive gameplay with some surprise all-ins, and that does take series. Certainly takes games, but doesn't seem like a reliable way to squash the Protoss menace right now. It's always Spar Night. This is not news. It's in fact a cat scratcher. I think Apollo knows. It's mostly Apollo. I think Apollo knows that it's going to be in full vision. Yeah, he's just making it a more efficient pop filter. Yep. So PvP it is. We got in the bottom left of Tokamak Hero, and in the top right it is Max Packs. Didn't really take a fair look at the map. I mean, when I was talking about the name of the map, I looked at it in the mini map and said, okay, that's a fairly normal looking map. It seemed to have played out pretty normally, too. I don't think I missed anything dramatic, like slow zones or gold bases. But let me double check. It was a half gold. Half gold between collapsible towers. I'm not sure how the dynamic works here. They're definitely collapsible. Maybe they're just collapsible that way. I don't know. If you collapse on minerals, I can delete minerals. Is why I'm curious. And then rocks blocking, and then pretty fair setup on the 3 base. 4th base is maybe a little farther out. Nah, yeah, it's kind of normal. I don't know if we're gonna get there anyway. I mean, I'm thinking more in that TVP context, which we actually saw the map. Now we're in PvP context though, and it's like, well, who gets that far in PvP? Usually not Hero. But Hero has really done a lot to change up his play style in PvP. I would still say he's generally a cheesy player. Generally more likely to all-in you than some other Prodosses. But it's PvP, and that's a hard statement to quantify. But it definitely has been changed, particularly against Max Packs. I think Hero was the one who, for a time, proved that you could still win against Max Packs with an all-in. Then, you know, balance changed and maps changed and Max Packs got better and then kind of worse overall just because of the maps, the balance, and then better, and then, well, you can win with an all-in against Max Packs, but it is difficult to do. And we've seen more Protoss either match Max Packs' energy, like, for instance, 1 gate versus 1 gate high ground expand, which is exactly what both of them are doing, or do a more convincing job of saying, I'm matching your energy, but actually I'm going to kill you. And that's how I believe Hero won. Not the last time these guys played, because it's been a couple of weeks, but the last time I gassed him, Hero was really good at convincing Max Packs he was doing one thing when actually he was doing something else. So right now we're in Stargate versus Stargate territory. Both of them scouted the 1 gate expand high ground because it is not a ramp low ground. So you kind of got to get that protection first and foremost, which kind of misses the other layer of protection that can happen around the natural. The wall isn't here, but since they're both doing the same thing, well, it's not about that anyway. What they're both doing is going into Phoenix, and it doesn't look like we have someone stopping and doing anything particularly clever. This is annoying. Zealot gets into the main with an Adept. Okay, so two units versus 2 units, but obviously Hero had 2 Adepts. Phoenix was able to help as well. That is the Phoenix energy gone, but it's... I mean, that's not actually really all that noteworthy, I think, right, in this matchup at this point in time. Because you're not relying on them as the anti-ground defense. You both are going air. That's the fact, especially with Max Pax's second Stargate. And you're not going to go for harassment either, because you just know that if you go for the other guy's probes, he's going to have a defender's advantage. So, yeah, energy, definitely use that on killing the Adept before it kills any more probes. Max Pax did get additional probe kill compared to his opponent, but it does seem like Hero has the slightest lead in probes. Somehow, some way, not sure exactly what happened, but we're talking like a probe and a half lead, which is not going to amount to too much. Going to be paying a lot more attention to this second Stargate already being up and running. I am not sure why... I mean, something must have happened in the... Okay, well, the 4th gas is not particularly well timed, it looks like. Well, I really like Max Pax's position a lot more. I don't necessarily care about this probe and a half lead that Hero has, especially as they're both going to get saturated on their 2 bases very soon. Maybe just a tighter builder, actually. The probe count not being the biggest thing. Otherwise, a tighter builder for Max Pax. Because I don't think it's a gamble. I don't think it's faster second Stargate, which is going to win the game, by the way. Like, this is over. This is done. Defender's advantage, defender's advantage, defender's advantage. Hold on, maybe not done, maybe not done. That was awfully close. Snowballing happens very quickly with Phoenix. What I was trying to say is that I don't think that the extra probe is necessarily going to make up for... Okay. Is necessarily going to make up for that Phoenix deficit, but it might if this 3rd base actually comes down. The focus right now on the micro for both players, so unfortunately it does look like Max Pax is going to stay even on that 3rd nexus. So actually, yeah, the additional probe probably not worth that very much heart attack moment of, did I just die right there? He did not, and it really has equalized. So as far as the... Not the Phoenix count, but because we are now producing 2 Phoenix at a time, we're back to just being good old-fashioned, okay, we're going to have defender's advantage. Fleet Beacon comes down for Hero, but he loses a Phoenix right off the bat. That's unfortunate. It's just the flower effect from Max Pax was better. And, well, okay, now I'm back on Max Pax just wins here. Yep. It did equalize on production, but the defender's advantage did not save Hero. He was running around with a Phoenix a little bit. They were not grouped up, and then the 2 Phoenix lead that couldn't win the game just 2 minutes prior to that did win the game, as it started off with a much better engagement. Phoenix versus Phoenix, man. What a rush. I'm still kind of confused, though, how Max Pax got such a significant second Stargate lead. I could definitely point to the 4th gas. That was not an optimized timing for Hero. I'm pretty sure about that one. I'm not really sure about that probe. The probe and a half lead. Where it even came from. Because it actually should have been more like 2 or 2.5 probe lead. Right? Because he lost 2 compared to the 1. But wherever that happened, it did not seem to benefit Hero. Nope. You know, I mean, the longer the game goes, the more that a probe lead can give you. But, that's not that much. And then the amount of investment that you get from it at that point in time, well, it wasn't worth it. Just straight up, it wasn't. He barely held on because the fight, I think, was kind of more of an equal micro battle despite being at the Phoenix deficit. Then the defender's advantage kicked in. But as soon as Max Pax took the Very appropriate fight. The I gotcha bitch fight. There's just nothing you can do after that. And Max Pex does seem to be still, in my opinion, the best Phoenix vs. Phoenix player. But he messes up as well. Just not that game. Did it fine, did it well. And now we're on ley lines. Max Pex up 1. Bottom left, Hero top right. Hero is in the winner's position. So if Max Pex 2 zeros right here, then he's going to have to play another best of 3 versus Hero anyway. But that was a very nice start, very easy start for Max Pex. I mean, at the end of the day, any type of cleverness that happens, it is noteworthy. That's fine. That's like, be as nerdy as you want about PvP, great. But the actual battle, I mean, it was, you had to kind of sweaty try hard to make sure your Phoenix, where, as I was saying, microed better. Okay, sure, but it happened so quickly. It happened so cleanly. It happened so decisively, because even that first battle that didn't win the game still told Max Pex what he needed to know about his position in the game. And it was one of the easier PvP wins I think you're going to get. Hero is going for a 2-gate possible expand. We know that he's not, but he has gone 2 gateways, so Max Pex sees that. He knows that. He knows about the missing pylon as well. And, you know, it's definitely not impossible for this to be an actual expansion. It's just, you would certainly think first and foremost, oh my god, he's going to attack me. I think that's what you should do. That's what you have to do. And so when Hero does manage to kind of subvert those expectations, say like, I'm going to all in you, just kidding, I'm actually not. That's how Max Pex can royally screw up. Is because he's like, well, I got to predict the all-in initially, so I got to be really protective. Oh my god, you expanded twice while I was being protective. Okay, fine, you got me. Like, that has happened, but this is absolutely an attack. Max Pex, I thought for sure he was going to check the natural, but I guess seeing 2 gateways at home, he was like, well, there's nothing that the natural that would scare me anyway. But that's not true. Like, it's very scary. I cannot believe Hero gets away with this for so long. Now, a shield battery comes down lickety-split, and that's really important. Again, Max Pex knowing, predicting first and foremost that he is being attacked, gets a shield battery as fast as he really can. But only now has he discovered a shield battery farm in his natural. Oracle is going to send over to the main base. It's going to force a couple of units to either stay at home. No recall available, so can't do that. That Oracle could do some significant damage. But can Max Pex hold on at home? Now, he could sacrifice the... well, not sacrifice it. He could cancel. Okay, well, now he has to sacrifice it. He could sacrifice the natural. Especially if this Oracle kills, 15 probes. And I think he has to. But Hero shouldn't take the bait. Yeah, Hero shouldn't... probe, no, block! Hero, it kind of has to win the game right now. He's lost 12 probes. He's only going to lose more. He has no defense against that Oracle. Void Ray does pop out, however, and the pylon is still alive. No second pylon, but we don't have the attempt to go after it. I don't think we can at this point. The Void Ray is just ripping through these stalkers despite the shield battery attempt to save it. Guardian shield taken out. Void Ray still being juiced up by the shield battery. Recharge could be available. The probes could be pulled. Max Pex has some to give. Max Pex has got it, I'm pretty sure. Second Void Ray is almost out, guys. Force Void Ray really doesn't have to die. More time can be bought. Another Stalker warping could happen very soon as well. That one pylon, I mean, I'm... Okay. The solo pylon is a little sad, but actually the high ground pylon does the job. 2 shield batteries depowered, 2 still up and running. That's all you need. Max Pex with a swift 2-0 to rebound from the losers bracket and force us to the true grand finale, the true final best of 3. As quick as you possibly can, I would say. I was looking at the timer for the bets, and I was like, I mean, PvP can be fast, but 10 minutes might be safe. I'm really glad I changed it to 5. Nova Steve, thank you very much for the 31 months. 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 No maps from the previous match. The other new maps include something called Torches? Magana. These fucking map makers, I swear to God. Maganatha? You know, I might have a little more sympathy if I really believe these map makers are like trying to educate us about like their culture. But I'm pretty sure the person who made like Jagannatha, for instance, was not Hindu religion. I feel like, you know how the joke used to be that Korean players, how they decided their English handles was just by flipping open the English dictionary and like pointing at something. It used to be the joke, if you didn't know. I feel like with map makers, it's not that they like close their eyes and pick something on a dictionary. They found a dictionary of only unknown words and non-English words. And then they were like, okay. yeah, Addison, thanks. Like, I think maybe the map maker who made like that Swedish train station name maybe was actually Swedish. Maybe. I just hate having to go over this like age-old debate about whether or not we should really be try-harding how to pronounce it. Which I think all of you know my opinion, which is like, I don't think you should try-hard it. I feel like no matter what, you're in the bad position. Which Swedish train station? I would not remember. That's the thing. It was pronounceable when I learned how to pronounce it. But again, like, I still wasn't close. Yeah, Radisset, there you go. I still wasn't close. And that's just always going to happen because no matter what, you could try and be the croissant of Americans because that is the correct way to pronounce it. But you know what that gets you? Everyone making fun of you. And a French person would say you're still not pronouncing it right anyway. There's just no winning. There's absolutely zero winning. And don't even get me started on the whole, like, well, you would learn to pronounce someone's name. First of all, it's no one's names. Okay, I'm not being directly rude to some person when I can't pronounce map maker names. Second of all, people of different accents mispronounce my name all the time, and you know I don't get my panties in a twist about it. In fact, I find it fucking adorable. Which maybe isn't the best word to use, but it's true. When people say Jessica, I'm just like, oh. Because the language works like that. That's so good. That's so neat. That's great. Or having Crank, you know, try to pronounce the grubba-dub-dubs. It was funny. He did a really good job. My mom rolls her R's when at Mexican restaurants, and everyone just looks at her. You know? Or they're just like, good attempt, whatever. I have so many problems with it. And I feel more and more like the map makers have found the perfect way to troll commentators. You know, there used to be a really big feud between commentators. Well, more players, actually, and map makers, to be fair. But still, there used to be like there was like a time where there was like a bit of a feud. I remember this. And I feel like the map makers convened in a little Twilight Council and were like, we need to just like take the ultimate revenge. Forever. And that's how they did it. But anyway, this is not one of those examples. Because I can pronounce this one. In the top right of Torches, it is Hero. And in the bottom right, it is Max Packs. We get ourselves a new TLMC map that has the slightly different way of the map position, map starting positions. We do have a natural with a ramp. It's the only reason why they went for a gateway. On the low ground, both of them doing it, but will Hero continue with it is the question. Why is it called Torches? Well, I don't really care if it does have a reason for it because I can pronounce it. But it does look like they have added a lot of torch doodads. And I appreciate that. I really do. I feel like you just got to be on the nose here. Hopefully this doesn't slow down everyone's computer because of all the torches. Lighting effects. Seems okay. But let's talk about the actual map design. As we see both players continuing with that 1-gate expand. I mean, Hero hasn't really done anything tricky off of the forward 1-gate. I don't think. I mean, he's always gotten a Nexus after it, but you can still do something more aggressive after that. But it's about that Nexus timing currently. Max Pack's going to be able to get his down at the same time as Heroes by the looks of things. No one's really going to further delay. Well, Max Pack's probe is weaker. And Hero just won that battle on the offense. Well, hold on. Hold on here. Both of them did get Zealots, however, and none of them decided to cancel at the last second to try and greedily get a faster Nexus. That would not have been worth it. As both probes did go to block what would be like a 300 mineral Nexus, right? Because if they cancel the Zealot, they could kind of sneak it in faster than you expect. Both probes were there. No one gets a sneaky Nexus. It is, however, a difference of Stargate timing right now. So even though the Nexus actually came down at the exact same time for both players, the difference right now is that Hero, instead of going for a Stargate, he went for a Stalker. Which, you know, is not much different in cost than a Stargate, but is it as effective as a Stargate? No? So I'm really curious as to why he did that. Perhaps just not wanting to play the Stargate game could honestly be one of the reasons. You certainly can't do it now. I'll tell you that much, and there's no reason for Max Pack to even try and go into Phoenix. But it does still mean that Hero is the one on the defense. Hero is the one going to have to block out potentially 2 Oracles. Not much else by 2 Oracles, to be fair, so you should be able to block out the 2 Oracles, especially when you have a full wall and the natural blocking the very, very light amount of pressure from the front. But it is going to be that dive towards the Twilight Council. Hallucinated Phoenix makes up for the lack of scouting that would happen when you don't go to your own Stargate. And then a Zealot from Hero runs across town. Is going to be a bother. Max Packs with no army. Back at home. Timing was a little off on the shield battery, unfortunately, so 3 probes do go down. But it's actually pretty even overall. Yeah, the middle is blocked out like you would expect from, let's say, they had like Golden Aura or Golden Wall, sorry, or Eldorado. Kind of mix those two up there. But what it's blocked with is actually not rocks like every other map has been so far. They are making use of the new doodad, which is the creep block, which means that it dies eventually. So this doesn't die because you go and kill it. It dies because it's off of creep, and so it's dying steadily over time. So that's a nice little change. That's a little change up on this kind of genre of maps. We still got the little points of pressure that are hoping to find Hero miss-microing or just slightly out of position. Not happening to any significant degree as of yet. Hero does fall behind a bit in probes, and that does make sense after losing 5, actually, at this point. Okay. So that got upped by 3, or by 2, you know what I mean? And that probably still won't matter. Blink is still pretty damn close. I mean, this is why it really seems better to go into the Stargate. Very much a personal opinion and probably biased as well, just to, what's the word, when I see things work more than I don't see them work. But it does seem like if you do it well, right, if you don't fall into any traps like, you know, dying to someone being aggressive on 2 base, and you're just like, oh no, well, Oracle's called your probes, and I guess I'm dead at home. If you didn't fall into a trap where you thought they were going to do X instead of Y, right? Having 2 Oracles kept alive for, you know, much of the game, potentially killing probes, forcing the defense against the Oracle as well. It's never a non-issue, right? You got to get the shield battery, you got to make the stalkers, you got to position them into the mineral lines. And then also still having the same blink timing, basically, just seems so good. And Hero didn't really get a lot aside from that. Now, he does have a faster 3rd Nexus, but only by a little bit. And he does have 2 sentries that could be crucial, but they are dying as I am speaking. One already dead, second one barely saved. Oracle with the stasis trap. They've got a little, like, Sideshow Bob rake thing going on if Hero were to try and go after this army. And unfortunately for Hero, there's no way to take care of this. I mean, he just has to know that there is a minefield here, and he knows that they can't blink aggressively. So it's not that he's maybe necessarily worried about dying, necessarily. Still gotta worry. Blink Micro is still paramount here. It's more that you can't get anything done in turn. You can't be like, aha, you over-dedicated, and then chase after him. Now, we do have 2 stasis traps taken out, and a nice force field, actually. Kind of blocked out a stalker from Max Pack, so the force field did end up helping out. But with so many stasis traps, that's such a high consideration. That's taken away some of that mental focus, some of that APM. Obviously, it takes away 2 stalkers, which when the battle is so close is significant. So again, it's more like Hero just can't do anything to really, really punish any slight overextension from Max Packs. So maybe Max Packs doesn't get a lot from this, or maybe he does. Maybe he opens up an opportunity for the Oracle to swoop into the natural. This won't be it. Yeah, one probe died, but the actual... not worth it, not worth it. But that is what you would have to attempt, right? But Hero, playing very well, was on guard for that. Stasis Trap in the main did collect a couple of probes and a stalker as well. It does look like Max Packs is slowly winning out the stalker battle. Doesn't help that Hero had to have the stalkers back in his bases. One shield battery doesn't cut it when there's 2 oracles that could potentially pair up. And there was only ever 2, right? Yeah, okay. And this actually just seems like Hero is slowly but surely dying. Max Pax holds on to a 3-worker lead, now up in the army supply. Slower to the upgrade, though. Okay, so Hero did manage to sneak in some type of advantage. +1 attack, going to finish very, very soon. Stalker counts 18 to 20. 2 sentries with a Guardian Shield. That is significant. Yeah, Max Pax going to have to respect that. Unfortunately, loses a second Oracle. But with 5 Stalkers caught in the Stasis Trap, Max Pax sees an opportunity. While his +1 was later than his opponent, his charge was much faster. A couple of charge lots adding in just a little bit of oomph to this, right? They get a couple of shots before they go down, but more so, they just take so many shots before they go down. Now, usually 3 or 4 or 5 zealots helping out an army like this isn't exactly what you want, because you can micro away from them, and you can tear them down, and, you know, they feel a little useless at times. But they can also sometimes be what just tips it over the edge. In this case, Hero doesn't win right there, Max Pax doesn't win right there, but he got a faster 4th. I mean, his 4th is done, and Hero hasn't even started his own. That's terrible. That's no good. That's no good. And the upgrades have equalized. Hero decided to go for a double forge. I don't think it's going to make up for that 4th Nexus. I don't think so. Ornal Habit, thank you very much for giving that sub. That's 100 gifty subs from Ornal Habit. So thank you very much for the long-standing support. I do have Max Pax once again engaging on his opponents. Now he's got an Immortal and his own Guardian Shield as well, helping out. He's not able to just aim, move, win it. And he still has to be a little careful, I would argue. Oh my god. Hero Blink right into the Immortal. Does go down. Stalker's forced to flee. Max Pax, though, reinforcing with a lot of Zealots. Might still have the better trade here. And that is exactly what I think is happening. And even if he doesn't... Okay, he is forced to flee. Even if he doesn't, he falls down by 10 supply. His 4th Nexus, saturated, is so good. But it looks like Hero is going to be able to get up his own 4th Nexus. No cancel necessary right there. So he will equalize the economy. He's going to have a superior upgrade position. 2-1 versus just 2. Currently has an upgrade lead, by the way. Max Pax does have his own technology, though, in the form of Dark Shrine. So Dark Templar is going to make an appearance. One headed towards the natural. No, that's a Zealot. No, those are Zealots. Where the hell is the DT? One DT headed towards the 4th base. That's not particularly sneaky, but maybe you don't need to be sneaky. Only one observer here for Hero, but it is in the right position. Max Pax goes, nope, 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 nope. And that is a better decision. But he is falling behind in the upgrades. He did not win with that push, despite it looking very promising. Hero is able to hold on. Now he has a slight army lead and an upgrade lead. He is missing an Immortal. He is missing the DT tech. That could also be Archons, by the way, but not right now. But that doesn't necessarily guarantee damage. The Immortal doesn't necessarily guarantee damage. You know, maybe it shoots a... Oh, and he actually... Okay, and they have Equalize on the Immortals. But the DTs don't necessarily guarantee damage, especially as Hero has picked up on the timing as well by the looks of things with Max Pax's DTs. But 3 DTs will kill a cannon, no problem. Hero was hoping that would take care of it. It does not. He will lose a lot of probes behind this push, but will he win with this push? Max Pax goes after the Warp Prism, takes away the instant reinforcements, but does he have enough? He took a very bad fight to start things off. Didn't expect Hero to be so aggressive. Was perhaps focused on the harassment, which is doing a lot of damage. But he does not have the army. Zealot's getting wasted. 1 cannon of his own, not going to be able to help out. This is Max Pax's 3rd base. He does need this. The DTs will eventually be cleaned up at home, and Hero did not take, 40 probes of damage, which would turn this into something of a weird base trade. It looks like Hero would have actually brought this game back. Zealot's on the backside getting a lot of swipes off on the Stalkers of Hero, but it looks like Max Pax is going to have to tap out. GG. All right. Hero on the defensive for most of that game, biding his time, trying to make the right calls for the long term. Finally gets rewarded for it. Perhaps Hero, or perhaps Max Pax did over-aggress at times. Can't really blame him any attack that he did, though. I mean, the attacks almost always had some opportunity. Units were stasis trapped. Immortal was, well, no, it was his own Immortal, wasn't it? Yeah, so units were stasis trapped, his stock count was higher, or his economy was supposed to, repair any damage, self-inflicted damage they did. I can't really say I saw an engagement. I was just like, no. They all made sense to me, but Hero just held on a little too well. Hey, Mr. Jazz. Trying to mute micro. And now we're on the final game, perhaps. Bottom left it is Hero, top right it is Max Pax. This has been a very quick finals thus far. Well, the last game was more typical time. The first best of 3 between these two was over in, what, like 6 minutes? It's crazy fast. Max Pax seemed to have gotten a significant lead with that 4th base, but not able to really take the engagements he was hoping for. I'm sure if I had checked the resources lost, there would have been an advantage for Hero. That's how that would work for him to come out ahead after being delayed his 4th Nexus for so long. As I said, I didn't feel like Max Pax took a particularly bad fight, but perhaps just a couple of those fights are supposed to end up with him not losing an extra soccer, or Hero losing an extra soccer. Either way, for as many fights as that had happened in that engagement, in that game, that could have been the real difference maker. And then Max Pax took 6 extra stalkers to his opponent when he pushed into the building 4th. I mean, maybe it wins right there, but it was not so. Perhaps the Zealots, what looked to be a real boon, ended up not contributing as much as they should have. Again, sometimes they just aren't very useful looking. There's only 3 or 4 Zealots, and they just get microdanced. And that's 400 minerals in a very tight game. Even though 4 bases is pretty good, it's still a very tight game. And if Hero was retaining his stalkers better than his opponent, while also dealing with the Zealots cost efficiently, there we go, then yeah, Max Pax's faster charge did not end up being the masterful stroke of genius that he was hoping for. And Hero, who dedicated to the future, dedicated to those faster upgrades, benefited from it. I mean, maybe some stalkers lived and they shouldn't have. Both players, once again, low ground gateway. It is a ramp map on Ultra Love. Both of them getting the Nexus down. No, actually. Hero was significantly delayed. So, I did not catch what made that happen. There are really tiny little micro things that happen. Like, again, you can cancel the Zealot. So you have the extra 100 minerals in your pocket that your opponent doesn't expect. Their probe is in position to block the Nexus. You can chrono or not chrono, and that changes. Actually, yeah, they kind of have to check if you're chronoing the probes in the main with the probe, which misses the opportunity to get the block on the Nexus. But what's really concerning, as a Zealot does kill 2 probes, okay, at least Hero has that going for him, but was really concerning was that Max Pax got a faster Nexus by quite a bit, but then also the Stargate, much faster. Once again, Hero going for these extra Stalkers, which are more expensive than the Adepts, but then also just production when you could have maybe forgone the production. Forgone makes a lot of sense. And maybe got that faster technology, which would have been a Twilight Council. Now, with the timings of these technologies, as the pylon of Max Pax is destroyed, got to be careful about that one. Does end up, letting these Adepts through, right, which would have been the main concern. Maybe the Stalkers were definitely worth it because they stopped that pylon from letting the Adepts get through. But then also is that shield battery shenanigans that sometimes Max Pax does. Anyway, the Twilight Council is much faster. So last game I was talking about how that Oracle opening can seem a lot better because it gets all this damage and harassment and scouting. And you still have blink timing on par with your opponent. But this is different. You do still have the 2 Oracles to provide you, hopefully, advantages for the first, 7 minutes of the game? They do fall off, and Blink is going to be the main bread and butter. So the fact that the Blink is significantly faster for Hero means that Max Pax is going to have a harder time getting a third, potentially. And we got a little game of basically, I need to protect myself against these Oracles, so I can't be too aggressive with the Stalkers, but then again, I have this really significant Blink lead, so I would love to be able to lay that third Nexus. Yeah. Mac Descent, thank you for the 63 months. I'm doing okay. I am sick. Hallucinated Phoenix once again doing what the what Hero is missing is the scouting. So he's getting that scouting, seeing the timing of his opponent's Twilight Council to a degree, I think. No, I actually didn't check the main at all. But, that's by and by. Like, you're going to see a Twilight Council. You're going to see it being researching most likely Blink. That's normal. There's not much else that a Protoss can do in this matchup. What I think would have been a more significant find from the Phoenix is this Forge. Just because that kind of tells you the intentions a little more. And there could have been gateways maybe in the main that you didn't account for, too. Kind of, what are they putting their resources into is always the question of scouting. But in this case, with that Forge, they're not going to have a sizable attack anytime soon. Even if they had a proxy pylon out in the map, it's not going to be a significant addition of gateways and reinforcements. And the third Nexus does come down from Max Pax. But behind that of Heroes, Max Pax got this really big lead on the Nexus. Didn't actually end up gaining that much of a probe lead. Maybe some economy lead, just because, the spike of the saturation, but not that much. And now he's behind on the third Nexus, not only behind, but also on the ropes. This is dangerous stuff. Hero, the Blink is done for both players, but Hero's coming in with a slight Stalker lead, plus the Sentry of the Guardian Shield. Now that is gone. Shield battery completes. That's going to take up some of the shots, more so than help out any other way, but Hero does not have that big of a Stalker lead. And a cannon is going to finish, actually, not a shield battery. 5 probes being killed apiece from this or that. Cannon does finish. More reinforcements are going to be on the way. And Hero is not going to be able to get this kill on the Nexus. He does still have the probe lead, however, but he will not be having the upgrade lead. So that's really what Max Pax was hoping would kick in. If he was really on the ropes, he needed to have some amount of Stalkers, not dip below 10. And then that +1 was going to be big. And kind of in a similar fashion to the last game, but flipping the positions, Max Pax has that +1, but Hero has the charge. What Hero doesn't have is a reinforcement point. No pylon, no warp prism. Robo only completed very recently, and so he will not be able to continue the pressure and try and stop this from being saturated. Cannon and shield battery also were done, so Max Pax really had the protection he needed on that third base. Goes swiftly into the +2, so we'll continue holding that upgrade lead for an indefinite amount of time. And Seems like he's found himself into a stable position. Remember that hero does still have that charge. He's adding 4 gateways right now. He has a pylon over on his 4th base, but that's not a probe, that's a bot. It looks so much like a probe, actually. And so, does he go for the 4th nexus? Does he actually saturate the 4th nexus? Or does he invest everything he has into the now 8 gateways that he's about to pop out and try and go for an attack? He would time it out with +1. He would be able to reinforce with an immortal, but without a War Prism on the way, he's not doing that. Max Pack's gonna need to match that 4th base timing, and he does. With the decision to go for the 4th base from Hero, he's not gonna try and all in again, get that War Prism ASAP, and just 8 gate 3 base it till he wins or dies. That will give Max Pack's time to get charge as well. And Hero's charge decision never even really came to fruition. I didn't mean to rhyme, but it just happened. It didn't do anything. He got it so much faster than his opponent, but did not end up being able to use it. There's just no opportunity. And so now that looks a little lame. You'd much rather have that 60 seconds on the +2. His charge is going to equalize. A little disappointing for Hero, most likely, but it's going to have to play the game that he's dealt to himself to a certain degree. Temple Archives on the way from Max Bags. We'll be able to add in a couple of those Archons. Yeah, I think he got a scout. Let me check. Yeah, he got a scout on the amount of gases that Hero has taken. And that's literally only 3 gases. So he knows that there's going to be a buttload of charge lots, potentially. I mean, he's actually the one with the buttload of charge lots. They both have 3 gas. No, 4 gas. Okay, so I was going to say, you can't just go Templar Archives. We're not talking about a lot of Archons here. Even a 1 or 2 extra could be helpful against someone who would expect to go for a lot of Zealots as well. But I don't know, man. This Archon actually seems not useless, but maybe not the most helpful. The Zealot number is scary if they get a surround. But Hero, despite being on a low gas, has really invested everything he can into the Stalker production. 10 Zealots are coming forth right now for a little buffer on the front, giving his Stalkers time to kill these Zealots, but that Archon helps clear out Hero's Zealots, sure, but there's so many Stalkers still around. I mean, the Stalkers actually just seem better right now. But that +2 is in effect for Max Backs, a Guardian Shield and 2 Immortals. And Hero, he can micro a lot with these Stalkers, though, and losing a couple right there. He can micro a lot. Wasn't the kill move that he was hoping for. The 2 different compositions clashed together, and it was kind of a stalemate to a certain degree. Max Backs forced to kind of do like an odd recall right there on his units that kind of got too ahead of themselves. But yeah, a little bit of a stalemate. They're now equalized on upgrades. Max Pax did not rush over to that +3 as he was engaging in battle. Decides not to go for +3, but instead to go into armor, which, yeah, is what Hero was doing. As they both continue to have a low gas count. I mean, the Zealots, they're going to be plentiful. That's the best way to put it. Yeah, the Zealots are going to be plentiful. 25 Stalkers remain for Hero, though. I mean, I really don't want to discount that. When the Stalkers are forced to stand still against a bunch of Immortals, Archons, and Zealots, well, of course they suck. But when they don't, because they shouldn't, then the Stalker micro ability is godly, actually. The Zealots rush forward into their deaths. The Immortals are like crab walking behind, being like, wait! And I would say that the Zealots could be maybe better at trying to go for these 2-pronged attacks, but it's actually Hero who's doing a better job 2-prong attacking. Still got that Warp Prism up to the north, taking advantage of a lone Immortal right there. Hero was on the retreat to the south, and Max Pax maybe could have gone for a base trade, but realizes it's too far gone. He's got a main army in his 3rd, some Zealots in his natural, and his 4th base, and he would have maybe killed the 4th by the time that he's lost maybe 3 bases worth of economy. Tough decision right there from Max Pax, but he decides to go for, certainly the safer path. But that means that he's limping. Doesn't lose too many probes, but is still down by 10. He doesn't have a lot of excess minerals to fully protect his bases, so the fact that he has consolidated. He is the one moving this army around in a kind of more predictable fashion than Hero, although both have now been blinded as the observers have gone down. And Max Pax has to always decide, do I let this base trade happen, or do I continue just defending? And I think the base trade is probably the better point, but it's not really a base trade right now. It's only a couple of Zealots in the main and natural Hero's main army is going to be forced to clash with MaxPax's. He does have an army lead of about 10. Defender's advantage as well. Probes have been pulled. Shield battery out of juice already. Could be recharged. Anything helps right now because this is do or die. MaxPax has to win right now or he is out. He did a brilliant job in the first best of 3. Made it look easy, but has struggled in the second best of 3. And it looks like Hero, Jesus, with a Hero blink to the Immortals. He's going to take the battle and the game and the series and the tournament. And that'll be that for the Monday Night Weekly. GG's. What a twist. Hero wins. I don't know if he won earlier. A lot of these Korean players are going for the Pickasaur Monday. Hey. Mr. Chaz with the $50. Holy shit. Great to have you back. Oh, I appreciate that, man. That is a welcome back gift. Thank you. Made getting up from the nap worth it. Oh, Hero almost won the Monday tournament. Okay. Glam won against Hero earlier. Hero finally won this weekly. And we could very well see him participate in the Pickasaur Monday happening in about 3 hours. It does look like the time zones have matched up again. We were in that odd position where Europe is later than us. Is that what it was? Yeah, it's later than us at the time swap. So I'll probably start streaming at 12 rather than 1 on Mondays. But all this casting and exerting effort has overheated me. I feel very, very hot right now. And desperately need to blow my nose. So I'm gonna tap out, even though it's only been an hour and a half. It's unfortunate. I got sick last Tuesday. I mean, in like Korea time, but anyway. And well, I started to have like a little bit of that, like, you know, that like throat soreness where just like, oh, this either could be because my mouth is hanging open all night, or it could be that I'm getting sick, and ended up being sick. So like Wednesday, I felt bad, but not too bad. And then Thursday, I woke up and we were supposed to go out and do something, and I was just like, wah. So we didn't do what we were supposed to do and just like visited some shrines instead. And then Friday was the flight home, and I really didn't feel all that bad. Like, I wore a mask because I was definitely sick, but I was able to upgrade with miles to business, which was really nice because I needed to just go to sleep. And then I slept on this like 11-hour flight, and I arrived at home at like 12:30. So like I kind of did what I should, like 12:30 p.m. And then I was like, I'm going to stay up because I don't want to be jet lagged. And then I was just like, well, the sickness demands rest. So what a conundrum this is. And I really thought I'd be over it by now. It did not feel like it was not like Thursday was the worst, but it just wasn't ever that truly bad. And instead it's lingered. And my mom also got sick eventually after being fine for like the initial 2 days. It's because I've been out of shape. And before people are like, I'm old. I mean, that's maybe some of it, but I feel like I haven't been doing a very good job keeping my health up and about as far as the nutrition and exercise portion, or the sunlight portion. And I feel like I've been getting sick every trip that I take. Gotta improve. Anyway. So I'll be home for, the next month. I am going to Colaris's wedding in late May. So it'll be a stream disruption again. As you all know, EWC was announced alongside the discontinuation of ESL Pro Tour, which, yeah, I was in Korea. I wasn't going to try and make a video or anything. It was very sad, but the really weird thing happened where it looks like the StarCraft 2 community doesn't care. But it's because we're left hanging for so long. This is like, not even the final nail in the coffin. Crank apparently said at like some point when they were like, because they were like, we're gonna talk to you guys before the announcement, and then they delayed it. And apparently Crank was like, stop loading the gun and just shoot me already. Kind of feels like that. But it just feels like, you know, everyone was like, well, yeah, well, that's what we expected, so that sucks. But after, like, everyone had their grief, everyone had their 6 months of the stage of denial, so that includes the commentators as well. So there's been no like big hurrah goodbye to ESL or anything. Plus, it's kind of ambiguous. Like, we don't have a circuit anymore, but EWC is happening, and I don't think ESL is done with StarCraft completely. You know, when they said in their announcement that they just couldn't find a way to afford a full circuit to their, you know, typical standards, I mean, some of that's corpo speak, sure, but I think listening to the people who were in charge talk about it, I think it is like really legit. You know, they couldn't get enough money to just really do the circuit as they would like to, but having StarCraft 2 at a DreamHack at Katowice, perhaps, but maybe not the Katowice, maybe something like aside from the CSGO one. I don't like, that's really not out of the question. And then apparently some rumors of like Blizzard stirring again and being like, wait a minute. Oh shit, like you guys aren't doing it anymore. Like we have to pay attention. Oh fuck. Okay. Whoops. Like might have something in the future as well. I mean, I'm not saying it's good or anything, and it's definitely bad for me and the people who make money off of StarCraft. But it's not completely over. I think we'll have a very sad, tearful EWC because we'll constantly be without any knowledge as to what's happening forever and ever until the end of time. But it is what it is, I guess. So when I'm healthier, maybe I'll talk about my plans for the future, but don't expect StarCraft to stop, you know, like full stop. Probably just continue doing the Mondays casting wise, and that'll be the where I'll leave the discussion for now, I guess. Yeah, that'll be it. I said StarCraft lives on. Yeah, not in the capacity we hope for, but I got to start planning for the next safe house as well. It feels like this year has both gone on for a very long time and also gone by too fast. So there'll be some fun stuff. But that's it for me. Apollo wants attention. He's telling me to go back to bed. So I will leave you guys with no cat and just the end screen. Thanks for the resubs and the big dono from Mr. Chaz. I'll see you guys on Wednesday for some Deadlock. Bye-bye.